Hi everyone. Let's back to our classic anime. So we have been doing the a little challenge thing ourselves, the bracket things that we watch on the classic shows, and we do a little tournaments out of that, and then we decided to just grab one of these the show there and watch it to the end for our classic shows and we decided on the title, a very respectable one, actually, Anne of Green Gables.
Yeah. So we didn't just take one of the shows from our, like best of the 70s and 80s bracket. We took the winner because no, wait, no, Heidi Girl
No,
of the Alps was the
yeah,
winner.
this is
This show was I don't know third place, right?
the place. Yep, yep,
Because it came up against Heidi in the semifinals.
yep.
Unfortunately,
And
both of those Takahata directed shows were on the same side of the bracket.
yeah, and it's another Takahata directed show in the final as well. For those of you
Jarin
who
Kochie.
want to know, yeah. So he's the big winner out of our tournaments. Yeah,
Yeah, top three spots.
yeah,
Um, he was pretty good. Turns out. I
yeah.
think we've proven it for the world to see.
I agree. I actually prefer him more than Miyazaki, but
Oh,
this
now you've
is
gone too
a
far.
lot shock. Well, this is my personal opinion.
Yeah. Um, Certainly as a
So
TV director, he was probably the stronger director.
I agree.
That really can't be disputed. I think when looking
Yeah,
at Heidi and Anne.
yeah. So we got Anne of Green Gables. We watched the first 13 episodes. So we're gonna talk about these 13 episodes in the first segment of our classics podcast.
Yeah. So I don't know if this will be like previously we had the Touch cast and the Nana cast. So this might be the
And
Anne
cat.
cast or the Green Gables cast. I don't know, something like that. They'll
Yeah,
probably get their own episodes.
yeah,
And yeah, as Mario said, we've got the first 13 here. These are the ones that we've already seen, and it's been several months since we have seen them, so these might be more general impressions.
yeah,
But then we'll start, going forward with new episodes,
yeah,
maybe five at a time. Maybe they'll get published on YouTube in batches of 10 or
yeah.
13. I don't know. We'll figure it out. For now,
That's
it's
so
just the
good.
first 13.
And right off the bat, the first I would say six episodes of Anne of the Green Cable is actually adapted or they edited and put it into a TV movie a movies uh that released at the same year in 1979 and
Oh, is that
it
right? I
just
thought the films came a little later.
oh, is it? I think it's right about the same time, but I will double check
Okay.
on that. I will assume that on the same years. Anyway, it just a chronic it just presents like the 2 days uh of ants where she first come to the Green Gables.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of modern anime series, with their shorter episode orders. They might have Anne arrive at Green Gables and be accepted a lot more quickly than she is in this adaptation. But here it takes a while before Marilla's resistance to,
Yeah,
them adopting a girl when what they really wanted was a boy to
yeah,
help out on the farm.
yeah,
She pushes back against Anne becoming their adopted daughter, even though Matthew, the other brother, so they're the Cuthberts who live at Green Gables,
yeah,
and there are two elderly single siblings, Marilla and Matthew. Matthew is immediately charmed
yeah,
by
and
Anne, and it takes a lot longer for Marilla's defenses, her walls to be broken down.
yeah,
But the fact that it does take so long, and the show, takes its time in working its way through that process, makes it more rewarding, I think, when eventually Marilla,
I I agree.
caves.
Yeah,
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 and you don't really see that in a lot of modern series. Things just happen
uh,
on a schedule because like the train is leaving the station and they have 12 episodes and they got to go go go.
yeah. And even like I think if they have the new adaptation on this show now, the whole thing would be resolved, great and resolved in one episode.
It could be. I mean, there was a modern Anne of Green Gables type series in the 2000s. It was called Konnichiwa An before Green Gables.
Huh.
It was one of
All
the
right.
last ever World Masterpiece Theater series, around the
All
same
right.
time as like Les Mis
Yep.
and Porphy's Long Journey.
All right. Huh. Interesting.
So you can see, if you're ever interested, you can see how this sort of material would be handled. It's not a remake or anything. I think it's like a prequel,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
but that might be interesting to take a look at one day.
Yep. So, what stick out the most for me would be Anne's personality. She vibrant, she very verbose. She talk a lot, and um, that matched very well with Matthew, the one who rarely talk at all. So he kind of like listen to what I'm gonna say, and I think that's why they hit it up really, really well.
It could be. Um, I rewatched. So we're discussing the first 13 episodes here. Before we sat down to record this podcast, I rewatched the first and the 13th episodes.
Wow, right.
Um,
Yep,
and the first episode is, largely consists of Matthew going to the train station to pick up the orphan boy that he and his sister assume they're getting. He
yep,
discovers when he gets there that it's actually a girl who has arrived with Miss
yep,
Spencer,
yep,
who's the person who arranged the adoption, I guess.
yep.
And then he has to take her back home, and it's her just chattering and babbling in the carriage for like, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes straight while he just listens. And at one
Yeah.
point she says, "Am I talking too much?" And he says, "Oh no, go on, go on."
Love that. And we see later on that this is her trait, but sometimes she can be very quiet as well. But when she not comfortable around the people uh, next to her, she will be quiet. She can be quiet.
I guess. I mean, it would take a lot though for her to zip her
For her
lips.
to shut up.
She would have to be, really anxious or uncomfortable. I feel that doesn't
Yeah.
happen too much um, in these episodes. You
Yep.
know,
Yep. Yep.
there is the anxiety, of course, in those early episodes when she's not sure if she's going to be sent back to the orphanage.
Yep.
She's not sure what Marilla's decision is going to be. There are, times where she, looks fearful and doesn't have a whole lot to say because she's
Mm.
worried that if she talks too much, she'll say something that will upset or offend Marilla.
Yep. Yep.
Once their relationship is a little stronger and she's made, Marilla has made the commitment to adopt Anne, that's when she really starts to, you know, I mean, from the very beginning, she's quite talkative, but she really
Yep.
starts to be her true self. I think, um, once you get like 5, 6, 7 episodes in.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But right from the start, she's naming different places according to her whims, like the White Way of Delight and the Lake
Yep.
of Shining Waters. Various places around Avonlea, which is a fictional town in
UK.
where are they? Prince Edward Island, I think, in Canada, which is a
Oh,
British
right.
colony or British settlement.
All right.
That's why in the dub everyone has British accents.
I see. Huh. All right. I always thought that it was either in UK for some reason or in like America. So
Nah,
it's in Canada or
yeah,
right.
Prince Edward Island in Canada, and
Hmm.
specifically Avonlea, like which isn't a real place, but I don't know. Maybe it sounds like other places in
Huh.
Canada. In
Yep.
episode 13, you can see on the side of the school building it says Avonlea School,
Hmm.
and there are other references to the name of the town, of course.
Yep. All right. And yeah. So
It's
see,
so pretty the
it
place where they
is.
live. I
So,
the background artist is so like you talk to a big anime fan, and you ask them what anime series has the best looking backgrounds in history or is most famous for its background art, Akage no An has to
Yeah,
be in that conversation.
I agree. Like the place around it, it really sell on the idea of this is like like the place that gonna be her home. So like it look fantastic. Even the house itself, like the detail that they put into there, it's just amazing. And yeah, and she's I admit that I was a bit at not trusting and at first she can come up quite a bit annoying as well since she know that when she learned that she might be about to like get sent back to the orphanage. She she a bit throwing tantrum as well. So she kind of like doing the like it will be nightmare if I go back there. I just want to be here, but you guys don't want me to be here and all that.
Yeah,
But
she's very
when
dramatic.
yes, she is. But on the trip where Marilla take her back to I would say the Spencers.
Miss
S-
Spencer's house.
yeah, she decided to she decided to she said make up her mind and not throwing tantrum anymore or something like that and I was like wow, she she actually you know she had characters.
You were talking about Anne. Anne said that.
I'm thinking about Ed. Yeah, Ed said that.
Yeah, I do remember something to that effect. Like
Yeah.
I don't think it was that she decided that she was gonna behave. She just
She
decided to like be
she accept.
optimistic or to believe that things would work out. It was
I
something.
think I think she decided to accept the circumstances and not to worry about it anymore. I think something a lot that lie.
Okay, I kind of know what you mean.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean that would be its own sort of imagination, I suppose, and she's very imaginative.
Hmm.
Um, in that first episode that I just rewatched recently, she uses a phrase all the time, no scope for imagination. She doesn't want to wait inside the train station.
Yep.
She wants to wait out on the landing platform because when you're inside there's no scope for imagination. But when you're outside you can see like a beautiful cherry tree or something across the tracks and you can imagine, what it would be like to climb it and to sleep in it if no one comes to pick you up and so on, you know.
All right. Huh. The scope for
So her
imagination.
her choosing to believe that things would work out and that she could, be on her best behavior and that would be its own sort of, like role play, I guess,
Yep.
for her.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But when Marilla, it's not I don't think it's the trip to Miss Spencer's house where Marilla decides to keep her. It's when it's arranged that she might actually go to Miss Blewett's house instead, and Miss
All
Blewett is
right.
kind of like a I don't know, like an older woman who's
Yep.
not overly friendly, you know,
And
and
have a
she
lot
would
of
just
kids.
yeah, a lot of kids that Anne would have to tend to, which is what she did
Yeah.
under her previous two in the previous two families that she stayed with Mrs. Thomas and Mrs. Hammond. She
Wow.
tells a little bit about her backstory in those two families in episode 4.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But in episode 5 is where she meets Mrs. Blewett, and then the follow up to that one, Marilla just very naturally, sees Anne's her distaste for Mrs. Blewett, I guess, and her fear that she wouldn't be able to stay at Green Gables, and she's very sympathetic to that, and so it comes across as very very simple and very authentic that
Mm.
Marilla's just moved by observing Anne and I don't know, having basic empathy for her, I think.
Yep.
And then that's kind of the starting point for everything that happens
Yep. I
afterwards.
agree.
Her and going to church with the all the flowers like sewn into her hat and kind
Yep.
of making an impression on people, whether good or bad, that way. And then eventually meeting Diana, her new
yeah,
best friend, who she wants to be bosom friends with. And then there's the whole saga with the brooch, like whether she stole Marilla's brooch or lost it or whatever. That's like a two-part
yeah,
story, kind of, which really puts their relationship to the test. And I
yeah.
think they emerge stronger
I,
because of it.
yeah. I really feel that the later part that we see, so the from episode 7 to 13 is more about, like Anne getting used to the new life, and uh uh Albert and sorry, Marilla and
Matthew.
uh when Matthew to learn about, like taking care of someone as well, because this is something new to them as well. So I think at one point Marilla also say that I'm also in the spirit of that. I think she talking to Matthew, and she kind of like to learn the rope of how to handle Anne as well. So the thing with the missing
Brooch.
approach, like you mentioned, is like one of the things that to test their uh yeah, their approach.
Yeah, that's tough, you know.
Yeah, it
When
is.
you think that a child is lying to you and you have every reason to suspect that
Yeah.
they're lying, like their story doesn't really add up, and
Mm.
you think you're supposed to, discipline them somehow, but you can't be 100% sure that they've really done the
and
thing you suspect them of doing.
and
It's hard to
even
know
yeah,
what to do.
and, and even then, I still think Marilla still goes easy on ants, because what she did try to her is just uh punish her by, like making her stay to her room until
Right.
she can confess herself, and that to the point, if she cannot attend the picnic, it's her bad luck. But I think that's fair and a bit too light on her.
Well, I mean, Anne certainly wouldn't say that it's fair because if she misses the
Well, yeah.
picnic, she's going to lose out on her first ever chance at eating ice cream.
Yeah, yeah, true. Yeah, that
I
gets
swear,
dramatic.
yeah. She says ice cream with that like really pitiful kind of wailing tone multiple
uh,
times throughout episode 12. Um, I started, of course, I started watching this episode subbed,
yeah,
but there were a lot of typos in the subs, so I quickly switched to the
I
dub,
see.
which is how I
Yeah,
found out that it has the British accents.
I see.
But eventually, I came back around to the sub, and so I would
Uh-huh.
hear the Japanese voice acting, and that's how I know that she would say ice cream.
Poor girl, no, no
She really wants to go to the
London.
picnic with Diana. It's gonna be their debut, kind of as bosom friends,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
she's
yeah,
very proud, I think, of having made a friend like Diana, who's very
yeah,
pretty, and who is well liked by her peers.
yeah,
Diana is kind of going to be like the key that unlocks a successful social life for Anne in Green Gables, or I should say in Avonlea. And
well,
if she doesn't have that relationship with Diana, she probably fears that she'll be frozen out.
yeah, yeah,
And so missing the picnic would be a bigger deal than just not having ice cream. It would be like, you know, other girls talking to Diana and saying, Where's this Anne that you've been talking about? Oh, she didn't come to the picnic? Why? What's wrong with her? What's the
yeah,
matter with her? Why isn't she here?
yeah.
That
And
could
the
that could really throw things off the rails.
yeah, and we got an entire episode spending on, like their first meeting together and in diner. And I think I mentioned that on the note as well, but I think that Anne is more obsessed with the idea of blossom friends more than, like having Dinah as friend, um, if you know what I mean. But they get along well, and they already consider themselves blossom friends. So I think that's a workout at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. It feels nice to watch Anne make a friend so easily, because
Yeah,
before that point in the show, every good thing that she had gotten, was hard earned.
Yeah.
For example, just the right to stay at Green Gables.
Yeah.
It was not an easy process.
Yeah.
But when
True.
she meets Diana, they immediately see eye to eye.
Yeah.
Diana is even impressed by how rudely Anne spoke to Rachel Lynde. If you remember that little
All right.
plot, I think from episode 7,
Yeah.
Rachel Lynde is like the gossipy, nosy, busybody neighbor
Hmm.
to the Cuthberts, and I can't remember whether they go to Rachel Lynde's house or whether Rachel comes to Green Gables. But
Hmm.
her first meeting with Anne, she calls her like ugly and skinny.
Ah, yeah. 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 Yeah.
And then Anne says, "Well, you're stupid," but she says it more cleverly than that. She's like, you don't have the imagination to so on and so forth. I don't remember the phrase exactly,
Yeah.
but she basically insults Mrs. Lynn's intelligence. And Diana, having heard about this, is impressed. You know, she's not like
Yeah.
snooty.
Yeah.
She also probably thinks that Mrs. Lind is a bit of a shrew. And
Yeah.
so she's like, I heard about what you said to Rachel Lind. Way to go, you know? So she and
Yeah.
Anne probably share a little bit of a mischievous spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also a nine sister as well.
Yes, Minnie May.
Yo. Yep.
She's so cute.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got to see like Anne's first day at school, and I really appreciate the way that it's not like the straightforward, like they she meet up with Dinah and then they are at school. No, we got to see them, like go through the journey to the school, where like many little moment of like Anne just very excited and she runs and Dinah have to catch up, and then um like they have to put the milk cool, so they have to put that like inside the lake, the stream.
Yeah.
It
And
just so good. It just so it take it back even to the to the era that we never lived, but like you can feel like you lived in that moment as well.
yeah, it's really the details.
Yeah.
Even just they don't just put their bottles of milk in the stream. They specifically like nestle it behind a big rock that would block the flow of water so the bottles
Yep.
wouldn't get swept
Yep.
away,
Yep. 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 Yep.
and on the way to school that like they take a little shortcut by ducking between the like the wooden bars of a fence. They go through a little patch of flowers there. I'm looking at your screen cap from episode 13 with the
All right.
violets, where
All
they
right.
kind of take a little break,
Yep.
and that's the other episode that I rewatched just before our conversation here was episode 13.
Yep.
Anne is always naming different places like the White Way of Delight, the Lake of Shining Waters. So
Yep.
Diana asks for a turn to try to name something,
Yep. Yep.
and I can't remember. It's there. They walk through a little path where there are birch trees on either side,
Mhm.
and so then Diana is like, "Oh, I'm gonna think of a name for it," and Anne says, "Okay," and she waits, eagerly for Diana to say the name, and she's hoping it'll be something, like very evocative, very beautiful, and she calls this path with birch trees on either side, Birch Path. And the look that comes across Anne's face is like she's so disappointed. But yeah, even that little anecdote, like that little section of their journey to school,
Yeah.
has that little bit of interest, added on to it. It's just very indicative of Takahata's style that he developed along with Miyazaki and Tomino and all the other kind of old legends who worked on these world masterpiece theater shows.
Mhm.
It's like in every single episode, there's always a process to every action that a character takes. You don't just cut straight
Mhm.
to the action being taken. First, they have to get there, and then they have to
Yeah.
position themselves to I don't know, do whatever it is they're going to do, and then you have to see them act step by step. And if it's something difficult, you get to see the how they how they move their body, how they brace themselves
yeah,
and turn a crank or open a door. It's just you know it's very it just feels very real. Like
yeah,
all the steps that we take to get from one place to another or to perform all the actions that we do in our daily lives are reflected
yeah,
here on
yeah,
screen for children to see.
yeah,
It's not just all sound and light. It
yeah.
kind of
I
feels real.
and I that's the same for Hedy as well, and I think that's why people love Hedy and Ant so much as we do, and yeah, and even like when they get into the school, we get to see like the schoolmate and the teacher as well, and like learn a bit about them, their personality in the process. So like we actually kind of feel like spending the whole day with Anne and Diana in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, we get to travel with them on the way to school. We get to meet Mr. Phillips or Mr. Phillip. I can't remember whether there's an S on his
Yep,
surname. And that he's dead gone on Prissy,
yep,
the
yep,
girl who
yep.
sits in the back,
Hmm.
the older
Yep,
girl who's getting ready to study at like the Queen's conservatory or something like
yep,
that.
yep, yep, yep,
And there's also I wanted to bring this point up in particular. There
yep.
is, Diana. Wait, let me see if I can find it. Hold up, give me 1 second here.
No
Diana.
worries.
I just seem to remember that Diana like promises to introduce her friend Terry to
I didn't recall that. All right.
to Anne. I don't remember exactly when or where, but she says something about Terry, like I'll introduce you to my friend Terry. And then in episode 13 where they go to the school, there's a girl named Tilly.
Huh.
She's the one who's really enthusiastic about singing Nellie in the Hazel Dell, which is
Right. Yep. Yep.
the song that they all sing together during I guess recess or lunchtime.
Yep. All right.
So I wondered if Tilly was the same as Teddy because they would have very similar pronunciations in Japanese.
Hmm.
It's just
That
kind of
mu-
like a weird
yeah.
tangent that my brain went on. But if that's the
Yep.
same girl, then that's Diana making good on her promise.
Yep. 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 That kind of
But
makes
she
sense.
does and does make friends out, beyond just Diana. There's Ruby. She's like a very kind of doll-looking, pretty blonde girl. There's Tilly, who's really excited to sing Nellie in the Hazel Dell. Um, I don't know. There were a couple other students named as well, like male students. And Mr. Phillips was, he bemoaned the fact that a lot of the male students, the boys, didn't show up because they were staying home to help their families with the harvest.
Yep.
And some of the other students were like, "Well, what do you want them to do? They have to milk the cows and get the
Yep.
chicken eggs and whatever else.
Yep.
That's how
Yep.
their families make their money."
Yep.
But Philip Sensei is not having it. He wants
All
everyone
right.
coming to the schoolhouse so he can boss them around.
Can you tell me what your favorite moment, the most one, the best one, in this shows, like the 13 episode that we watch?
I have no idea. Oh, sure, I can give you one.
All
In
right.
episode 4,
Yep.
there is an argument between Anne and Marilla.
Yep.
Anne is afraid that on the trip to, I think at this point it's Mrs. Spencer's house that they're going to.
Yep.
Anne is, afraid that Marilla's just going to return her, essentially, send her back to the orphanage. And so midway through the trip, she like jumps out of the carriage and runs away across a field and
Oh,
sits
yep.
on,
Yep. Yep.
um, you know, part of a broken down fence. And it's just the separation between the characters, the way that the shot is arranged. Whenever they're arranged at a 90-degree angle, so you
Hmm.
know Marilla is still on the road, and Anne is sitting with her back to Marilla, to her side, I suppose.
Yep.
and you see like a cloud pass over the field that separates them. The
Yep.
shadow of the cloud like travels along the grass, and you hear the sound of the wind. And that scene is just left to linger for a long time, like the you know kind of the breakdown in their communication
Yep.
is really nicely illustrated, I think, by that scene. That might be a favorite of mine.
Yep. 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 I agree on that one.
How,
My
what
favorite
about you?
one,
What do you have in mind?
my favorite one have to do with Marilla as well. So it's when she realized that Anne is innocent um of like stealing her brooch. That she decided to make it right by like taking her by just coming to her saying sorry, and then taking her straight to get everyone ready so that like they can take her to the picnic. So I think this is just like uh really good of Marilla to like even to her child that she can a bit when she did it wrong, and try her best to make it right, and like try to improve their relationship in the process. So like this is her compromise, but it it it's a really good way.
Yeah, it is nice that Marilla is humble enough,
Yeah.
despite her inexperience with children,
and
she's humble enough to apologize and to make Anne's, wish come true
and
at the last
and
second.
yeah, and I just love her characters a lot. She's like kind of like really no nonsense type, but whenever like she's curious about Anne's reaction. So whenever like Anne saying something, like, oh, out of line, or like when her imagination just take a better of Anne, she was, you see her Marilla reaction to it. She was like, oh my, what this guy is thinking about, like, and
Yeah,
it just, yeah,
kind
and
of
even
yada
on that,
yada,
yeah,
yada
true.
yada, like she's kind of worn out.
And kind of like curious as well about like why she can even think like that,
Yeah,
and one of the other thing as well is when she thought that Anne was stealing her brooch, but like she never once thought of like giving her up, and yeah,
yeah.
and
She
I
didn't
think that,
threaten her and say, "I'm going to send you back to the orphanage."
yeah, never. So it's it talk a lot about her personality as well.
Yeah, and then you got Matthew as well,
Hmm.
who has to try not to take sides during that dispute.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But really, you can tell that he's on Anne's side.
yeah. Like he's sneaking to like take off the boot so that he can meet Sian in her room and say some of his wisdom. So
I
nice.
can't remember exactly what he says to her.
Uh, yeah, something
What?
about saying sorry or something. Yeah. I don't even know what fight they were at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he just offered to her some words of encouragement.
Yeah.
Um, and he probably said "so sano" in the process, which is Japanese, like just a kind of a filler phrase that you use at the start of a sentence in Japanese, like "well
Oh,
now." Well
I
now,
see. I see.
his character says that. Like there are some scenes in this show where every single one of his lines of dialogue will begin with "so sano." Every single one right after the other. He's just kind of he's a simple man.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
The man with a few words.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm happy if we stop now. But if you have any of your notes that you want to discuss, you can.
I mean, it's been months since I've
Yeah.
seen these episodes, so I don't have anything really fresh on my mind.
Yeah.
So I think it's fine to leave it there. Now, of course, we the first 13 episodes, which we've just talked about, we they were in the distant past for us, not so distant, but a decent
Hmm.
amount of time. But going forward, we will things will be a little fresher.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know. The next time there's an Akage no An related upload on this channel will probably be, I don't know, episodes 14 to 23, something like that. Maybe groups of 10.
Yep.
I don't know how long that'll take, but we'll get it out as soon as we're able.
Yep.
This will probably be a bit of a journey, the same way Heidi was.
Yep. So good.
But I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, Heidi is it may be my all-time favorite TV anime at this point.
Wow. Big
So
statement.
yeah, well, it's pretty good.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And not only do I really like it based on our first watch of it for the podcast back when we were weekly, but it also you know, won the tournament undefeated, if I
Yep.
recall correctly.
Yep.
But I'm all that is to say that I'm expecting big things from Anne of Green Gables. So
Uh,
hopefully it delivers.
all right. Yep. I gonna expect I will have a good time at watching this, and based on the first 13 episode that we watch, I am up optimistic about that.
Okay. Yeah, me too.
All right. So guys, talk to you later. We're gonna see you later in a few more weeks
Yep.
in the next one.
More and to come.
All right. Bye for now.
Ta ta. This is part two of, I guess, our first installment of the Annecast. I'm Whooper,
Yep.
and here's Mario.
Hello everyone.
Sorry, I'm kind of whispering. I'm a bit under the weather. Though if you've already heard our fall 2024 first impressions episode, you would know that already. I guess this is your clue that we're recording these on the same day. Even though I'm a little bit sick, I was very excited to have the opportunity to watch these episodes and to talk about them today because I really loved them.
Mhm.
We talked a little bit about our process for choosing Anne of Green Gables as the next classic show we were going to talk about in the first half of this upload. And I expected it to be good, but there were some episodes here that really knocked my socks off.
Yep.
And these are I should mention because I think I neglected to. These are episodes 14 through 19 that we're talking about here.
Yep. I would think that episode 13 is gonna be like a good addition to this batch that we got as well, because since this is about Anne going to school and experience her time at school, and there's a whole lot of drama coming up as well. But I also like you really enjoyed this part of sick episode that we watch.
Yeah, it is kind of a school arc, I guess. Not that
Yeah.
it's finished or anything, since Anne is still competing for the top spot among the students who are on book 4. It's
Yep.
everybody in one schoolroom, in kind of classic fashion. But she was until recently on book 4. I think she's been promoted to book 5. I think the narrator lets us know that in one of the later episodes in this group of 6.
Yep. And between the six episode that we watched, from episode 14 to 19, it's cover the autumn season and the winter season of, you know I think the first year when Anne stay in the Green Gables.
Yeah, I'm not sure that winter is over though, right?
Yep. Yep. It's coming.
Yeah. You know
The
what
next
was
the Yep.
what?
Sorry.
What's
Go
up?
on. I just say that the next episode gonna be spring once again. So
Is there narration to that effect, or some sort of
uh
visual hint at the end of episode 19?
yeah, I think there was, but not too sure on that.
Okay,
But
because
well,
episode 19, just for context, I guess, or to provide a hint, is the one where they go to the concert and is
yeah.
invited by Diana's family to go to this concert, which is essentially, I mean, when you and I as modern people hear concert, we think musical performance.
Yep.
by like a single act. Maybe there's an opening act, and then the headliner comes out and they play for an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever.
Hmm.
Here, in this context, in Avonlea, in the province of Prince William in Canada, I guess concert means like it's an opportunity for the local community to, I don't know, deliver monologues or read poems or demonstrate their talents or
Yep.
just to like
Yep.
put on a show for everyone,
Yep. 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 Yep.
which is, an interesting idea.
Mm.
It does reinforce, that sense of like neighborliness and
Yep.
just knowing all the people who live around you and all of your lives kind of intertwining,
Yep.
which is nice. This
Yep.
show is a little
Uh,
glimpse into that world, I guess.
yep. Agree. Agree.
And
But
in episode 19, we're definitely still set in winter, from what I remember.
yeah. But
And
I
and it ends with Miss, what is her name, Aunt Josephine,
yep.
going back to is it Carbody? Is that the name of the neighboring town or village?
Uh,
Carbody, something like that.
all right. I trust you on this.
When whatever the name of the village or town that she returns to, when she goes back, is it springtime in that like kind
Yep.
of closing scene?
Yep. Yeah. It's springtime. It was springtime.
Okay. See, talking through it like this is helping me remember now that the narrator says that Aunt Josephine stays for a month
Yep.
or
True.
for a
Yep.
season or something like that. Okay. So yes, I guess 6 months have passed, something like that, since the first episode of Anne of Green Gables. Would you say
Yep.
total?
Well, I would say yeah, around half a year. So yes, 6 months.
Okay.
But yep. Let's go back to episode 14, where the name of the episode is A Tempest in Glass. So it's about a boy, Gilbert, who like who make prank to others, female classmates, and he actually angries ants you know who hit him.
Yeah, with her chalkboard, which actually shatters over his head.
Yep. I have in trouble of they say in the chalk as the pen, the pencil in my subtitle. Do you have that on your subtitle?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
In fact, they're the most direct example of that. They first of all, they don't call the chalkboards chalkboards; they call them slates. So I assume it's the
Yep.
same material, something that's you can easily write with chalk.
Yep.
But
Hmm.
there's another male student, and I have his name written down somewhere here. Charlie Sloan. He wears suspenders, and he's a little bit overweight, and he has a
Yep. Yep.
big
Yep.
crush on Anne, and he gives her
The
what
pencil holder. That's what they say.
is it? Was it a pencil holder? I thought it was like a pencil or some sort of writing utensil.
No, no. I think it's the one that you. So that's basically the chalk holder. So you put the
Okay,
chalk in there so that you can hold it right.
gotcha. And I know it's red and yellow striped. And when she says thank you, he like proudly says, "Oh, it's well, what does she say? It cost 10 cents, something like that, 2 cents."
Yeah. Yeah.
And he like proudly says to her, "Yeah, it's one of the best ones they have." That was very just charmed the pants off of me. His little
Yeah.
little crush on
Yeah.
Anne. He likes the feisty, smart girl. Who that's just so fun. I love stuff like
Yeah.
that. Classroom dynamics and little crushes between students, and that's really nice. So we got
All
Charlie
right.
Sloan, and I guess he'll continue to. I see that you just sent me live a screenshot right here. Katie
Yeah.
Booter gave me a, what is it?
Perfume bottle to
A
keep
perfume
slave
bottle to
water
keep
in.
slate water. So that must be the solution that they use to clean the chalkboards.
Yeah. Anyway, I just want to bring that up because we have the real Katie Bolter who is a professional tennis player. So I just find that very funny.
Okay. Is she from Canada?
No, she from the UK.
Okay, well then that does not check out because this
Ah,
show's set in Canada.
yeah. Well,
Though Prince Edward Island, I may have said Prince William County earlier in this episode, like a few minutes ago. It's Prince Edward Island, and that is like a a British
yeah.
settlement, I think.
Mhm.
So who knows? Maybe it's a shout out to a tennis player, even though this novel I think was written in the what late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yeah. Well, maybe I think the real Katie Border names was inspired uh, by this novel. I think maybe you know
Could
you
be.
never rule that out.
So we have an Anne of Green Gables and tennis connection.
Yep.
So maybe the crossover could be the Prince of Green Gables in honor of the Prince of Tennis, probably the most popular tennis manga and anime.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Is all that? Yeah, episode 14.
In
You mentioned Gilbert Blythe.
Yeah, and I just found that like the way that Alex acts out and hit him into the head
Hmm.
is a bit over dramatic, but that's so purely Anne, and she still dislike Gilbert after the span of 6 months that we just discussed, and
Yeah,
she still hasn't talked to him. Uh, you know, uh, yes, just be silent. When she see his face.
yeah. She's giving him the cold shoulder.
Yeah, yeah. That.
If he leaves like a special apple on her desk, she just drops it on the floor. If he leaves her like a little heart-shaped lollipop, she crushes it with the sole of her shoe.
Yeah.
In that
Ah.
scene, in I can't remember which episode it is, but if I had checked through my notes here, I'd be able to tell. Looks like it's episode 15,
Yep.
where he tries to apologize on a bridge, and she just
Yeah.
walks right past him. And then there's a shot afterwards where Diana chases after her, and the in between animation is missing. It's just the keys, which was very weird.
For this
That
show,
stuck
yeah.
that stuck out to me. But some of these, I mean, anime production is does not have a reputation as being, you know, very smooth.
Consistent.
So they could have
Yeah.
been delivering these episodes to the network that it was airing on with just minutes to spare. Hard to say what the story behind the scenes was.
He still look gorgeous though.
Yeah, yes, it does. And when Anne gets really mad at Gilbert, he does mock the color of her hair, and we know that she's sensitive about that because he calls her carrot. But I'm sure
Hmm.
she was just as annoyed at the fact that he disrupted her like little, you know, her
Paradise.
daydream, her daydream
Yeah.
about
Yep.
the
Yep.
fairies that go up to like a castle in the clouds above the lake of shining waters.
Yep. Yep.
Because she was in the midst of a very nice daydream, and he pulled on her braid and broke her out of it. I really liked the way that the show led into that daydream. You get
Hmm.
multiple shots of Anne in profile, and so you don't see what she's looking at. You just work close up on her face as she looks off camera.
Yep.
Then after that, we see an image from the side of what she's looking at, which is the window. Then that dissolves into a shot through the window and out onto the lake. Then the camera, is next. It's on the other side of the window looking at the lake. Then it moves up. It's just very gradual. I just love the pace of this show, how gradually it moves from shot to shot. It has kind of a dreamy quality to it at some points because Anne does have that big imagination, and because this is a very like pastoral, rural, town in a in in a very, I don't know, rural area, the sort of thing that
Yeah.
Isao Takahata really loves, really loves nature, and when
Yep.
characters are closely connected to it.
Yep.
So that continues to be one of the show's strong suits, I feel.
I just feel that the fact that Takahata like do not draw his own, his own animation. Really interesting because I think it the work as the fact that he can control the storyboarding and the pacing. So he does not like obsess into like how these character move or a lot of animation, but more about the tempo, because like you just mentioned, the pacing is very 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 solid. I really enjoyed the pacing in all these 6 episodes.
Yeah, it's very easy to watch it and think of it as kind of inspired by real life, by the
Yeah,
tempo of real life. Because he's not an artist by trade, as you were saying, he when he timed things out in his head, he probably did it by thinking about how long it would take to accomplish it
yeah,
for human beings in 3 dimensions, flesh and blood,
yeah,
not
yeah,
not how long it would take his drawings to move in the
yeah,
appropriate way.
yeah.
So that
Oh,
ties right into his philosophy that timing and blocking, are of paramount importance. I think when
yeah,
creating animation, which is
yeah,
something that you also see in Miyazaki's work.
yeah. So after that shenanigans that she had with Gilbert, the teacher taught her by the fact that he put her sitting next to Gilbert for the next day, and she becomes so angry that she refused to go to school for a while. So I think this is for me. I'm not sure if Marilla have done that before, but this sick patch episode is the first time that we see Marilla's burst out laughing when she hear Anne reasoning for twice. I think she burst out twice in two separate occasions. But
Yeah.
something rare from her end,
Yeah, there is a detectable change in Marilla's,
Yeah. Mm.
behavior. We do, in episode 19, things are not exactly reset, but we do get a glimpse of the old Marilla because she refuses to
Yep.
let Anne go to the concert, at least at first. She's more
Mm-hmm,
of her
mm-hmm.
no nonsense self that we're accustomed to. But
Yep. Yep. Yep.
yeah, she does burst out laughing. I think maybe the first time she does it is when Anne explains her dream about Diana getting married,
Yep. Yep.
and
Correct.
like leaving her behind.
Yep.
And I really love that scene because, Anne is obviously distraught about this imagined future. Marilla is amused because, of course, Anne is just like 12 or 13 years old, something like that.
Yep.
And she's already thinking about like the distant future and about marriage and everything. And it's just preposterous. So she laughs. Then, so you've got the two emotions on either side of the spectrum. Matthew
Yep.
opens up the door and makes to walk into the house, and then he sees that Anna's upset and Marilla is laughing, and his eyes kind of widen, and then he just backs up and closes the door.
Yep. 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 Yep.
He doesn't, and he has no idea
Yep.
like
Uh,
what the mood is supposed to be. He doesn't want any part of it. He just does
yep.
a 180 and walks
Um,
away.
yep. I've just better not go in between this.
Yeah,
Work out.
that's a very fun scene.
Wise.
And
Yep.
the Anne refusing to go to school, and then her eventual separation from Diana, which creates
Yep.
most of I think the drama in this group of 6 episodes, kind of smack dab in the middle, before
Yep.
she
Yep. Yep.
saves Minnie Mae's life in episode 18. She's
Mhm.
separated from Diana by the
Two
incident where
episodes.
she yeah where she well the thing is it is just 2 episodes, or I guess three, because episode 18, it's not until the end of it that she's kind of reconciled with Diana, that Miss Barry
Yep.
gives her permission to be friends again, I suppose.
Mhm.
But even though it is just a few episodes in there, it feels so like earth shakingly important,
Yep.
because she has
Yep.
gone on and on about how Diana is her bosom friend and the first like true friend she's ever had, and that they're so suited for one another and that they love each other. They do seem to have a really, really strong friendship and
Connection.
relationship.
Yep.
And the when Anne feeds her the currant wine instead of the raspberry cordial, and the sort of snowball events that lead to their separation. It's so, for me, it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
As shrill and as overdramatic as Anne can be, when she's
Mhm.
separated from Diana, it's like, she doesn't want to go on living. And
The
it's,
the the thing about Anne is that I found that she often over dramatic. So I think that is the exact opposite with how Heidi behave. But when they make up their mind about not talking into school, she committed to that. So she take it very seriously, and she just doesn't want her her friend to have any conflict. So she decided to sit in the other side of the classroom.
right.
Um,
She
yeah, so
sits
so she
with,
hurt.
what's the girl's
Yeah,
name?
some girl.
Minnie
Yeah,
Andrews,
but
the girl with no
all right.
imagination.
Yeah. So all I say that she honors the agreement, you know, and she put up with that. Not that she can do anything with that, but you know, she had principle.
Yeah. She doesn't want Diana to get in trouble.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And she also, kind of sets out a challenge for herself now that she can't be friends with Diana anymore, at least not in the traditional sense. She's going to become the best student that she can be, and she's going to beat Gilbert in
yeah,
the process, which I'm sure is a nice bonus in her mind.
yeah,
But the man, that little group of episodes where she
yeah,
and Diana are separated, especially episode 17, where she returns to school,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
thinking, well, maybe I can't be friends with Diana and see her every day and play with her, but at least I can see her at school. And what's the phrase she uses? She says, like, mourn, like a life that was cut off before it could progress. Like mourn the
yeah.
life I could have lived if I had been able to maintain my relationship with her. So episode 17, she goes back to school, and there are many things that I love about that whole episode, but the last few minutes with the note passing between the
Yeah,
two girls
yeah, yeah.
just was lovely.
It yeah, it
It
break your
was,
heart.
yeah, it's amazing. The composition of the scene, like the fact that the note has to travel all the way across the classroom,
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
illustrates the physical difference, the physical separation between the two because they're on opposite sides and the note has to
Yeah.
pass through hands. But also the fact that we know a little bit about each of those students who passed the note, like Minnie
Hmm.
Andrews, who has no imagination, and Gilbert, who is rude and arrogant, and the
And
girl who sits next to Diana now, I think her name is Gertie Pye, who is, I mean, we don't know that much about her, but she tries to spy on Diana as she's
yeah,
reading the note. Diana says that she hates her. The fact that we
and
know a little bit about all these students and that they are so different from Anne and Diana, who are very similar to one another, further
mhm,
illustrates that they're separated because we have all these children in the middle who are nothing like them, and
yeah,
Diana and Anne, who are so similar, are on either side. It's just like I have to
yeah,
imagine that the person writing these episodes, and storyboarding, they really put thought into all this because
yeah.
it works so well.
And furthermore, even the fact that when Anne looking at Diana's, it's from the side where Diana just doesn't look back to her. So there's like a really kind of distance between them that like the unbreakable wall that you cannot cross over, and you can really feel that as well.
Yeah. But then eventually they do make eye contact at the end.
Yeah.
After several shots of Diana kind of from the back and the side where she won't turn around, eventually they do. They do after they've, passed a note back and forth and Anne has sent her reply. They turn, they lock eyes for the first time in that half of the episode
Mhm.
and eventually the other classmates fade away so that it's only the two of them in the
Yeah.
room. and then the room fades, and we just get the floral backgrounds between them, and then we're
yeah,
transported to Birch Path, where it's
yeah,
just their two desks, and then they get up, they clasp hands. We even see the swing from Heidi, the OP and
yeah.
Heidi, the swing high above the scenery.
Mm,
We see Anne and Diana holding hands on the swing as they, go back and forth over the autumn forest with all the red trees.
yeah.
It's
I think I have
just,
the screenshot of that of they sitting on the swing.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's really, really beautiful. I was very
yeah,
moved.
yeah. Can you remind us a little bit the reason why that uh Anne was Diana and Anne was not getting together anymore?
Yeah,
Like
because the tea party that Anne set out for Diana, she fed her, or rather served to her, currant wine rather than
yeah,
raspberry cordial. And so
uh,
Diana gets drunk and returns home. And apparently that's a huge deal. I mean, it is a huge deal.
yeah,
But to Mrs. Barry, in Marilla's mind, that's it's an accident, and
yeah,
no harm was done in the end, even though Diana had, she suffered a major headache the next day.
yeah, yeah,
I wonder if we'll ever learn, any history in the Barry family about like whether there's an alcoholic in their family or something that would have perhaps triggered Mrs. Barry's like protective instincts
oh,
to keep Anne away from her.
well, well, I just think that she think that this is not proper, you know,
Yeah,
a-
yeah,
and
that
she
language
doesn't
was
want
definitely
anything to do.
used.
Yeah, well, and I just feel that how formal, you know, when it is when Anne asked Dinah to come to her house because Marilla's had been allowed Anne to invite Marilla to come to the house for the cake, and how formal that is that she invite her, and then Diana, like coming to the house with the second best dressed. Uh,
Right.
so specific, and I was like, oh god, like normally when I come to someone's house I just like very casual.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
thinking about rest at all.
yeah, they do kind of make a big production out of those sorts of social gatherings. It's
Yeah,
like the girls
yeah,
are training to host those sorts of gatherings in the future, perhaps.
yeah,
By when,
that makes
like, when
sense.
Diana comes over, they pretend that the sitting room is actually the parlor because Marilla says, "No, you can't go in the parlor. You're just going to have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
use the sitting room."
yeah,
But they
yeah,
pretend that they're in the parlor because that's how they would greet a guest if they were grown up and they had their own houses and held their own tea parties, I guess.
yeah,
And it's kind of fun to see that Anne can use her imagination constructively in those moments
yeah,
because oftentimes it gets the better of her and like causes her to cry
yeah,
or melt down or to bemoan the fact that all the things that she imagines she can't actually have. But
yeah,
here it's she can use it positively.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And they inquire about each other's families, like, oh, and how is your father doing? Oh, he's very well. His potato harvest is very abundant this season. You know,
yeah, yeah. Oh boy. So yeah, I think we can come to episode 18 where there is an incident happening with Minnie May. Uh,
yeah,
so
she has croup.
Groove. I'm not even sure what that is, so I have to look it up. So apparently uh it's an infection where she not be able to breathe properly.
Yeah, it's a swelling of like the upper esophagus, I think, which makes it
Right.
difficult to breathe. You can hear Minnie May struggling to
Yeah.
breathe.
You can hear the sound of that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty credible,
Yep.
the
I agree. I
performance.
could. Yep.
given by someone who I assume is an adult, pretending to be like 1 or 2 years old. I guess 2 years old, with croup.
Yeah.
But it worked out pretty well. Added to the drama of the episode.
Yeah.
And Anne takes charge right away because of her experience with Mrs. Hammond's 3 sets of
Yeah.
twins.
Wow.
That was one of the women that she worked for and lived with in the
Yeah.
past. And she knew exactly what to do, which is get Ipecac and spoon it into Minnie May's mouth. Ipecac is an expectorant. So if you
Right.
give someone a little bit of it, it makes them cough. And if you give them a lot, it makes them throw up.
I see. I see. So, if many may be able to throw up, that just mean that it's got clear or something.
Well, I don't think she does throw up. Maybe she does it off camera, but I think she was just spooned tiny amounts of it so that she would cough through the swelling and through the phlegm that was built up in her throat.
Oh, I see. Yep. All right, that makes sense.
Because she was just wheezing, like you were mostly hearing her inhalation through
Yep.
her throat, like her gasping.
Yep.
So she needed to clear her airway, and Ipecac works for that. Ipecac is not really in use as much now in the 21st century as it
Mm.
was during that time period. There are better alternatives now, but
Yep.
Ipecac is I don't know. I knew of it when it popped up in the episode. I think I learned about it from my mom probably when I was younger.
Yep. Mm. That's very interesting. I still don't know the deal of like having had a hot boiling water from because I don't think Anne use it at all.
So the reason
Uh,
for that was, have you ever been sick and used a humidifier in your room?
right. Yep.
That's what it was. I think that's what it was for,
I see.
just to have to make the air more moist.
I see. Yep. 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 Yep.
Because then, as she was struggling to breathe, that moisture would enter her airway and perhaps help to clear up the swelling.
I see. I see. And then later on, when it get too hot, she decided to open the window so that fresh air come in.
Yeah, that I didn't quite get. I think that was just to lower the temperature in the room, but that would get rid of the moisture in the air. That would kind of
Yeah.
that the boiling water that would suck it out.
Yeah.
So it didn't make sense medically to me to open up the window, but I think it was just because Minnie May was like burning up. It was too
Yeah.
hot.
Right. Yep.
But
Well,
Anne
that
knew. I
would
mean,
make
Anne
sense.
knows better than I do. She knew exactly what to do, and she cured her. And you hear
Yeah.
it in the doctor's assessment.
Yeah. Yeah.
When he
Yeah. Yeah.
says to Mrs. Barry, "You better let that girl is amazing. You better let her be friends with Diana again." That's in
Not.
essence what that episode is for, to
Yeah. Yeah. I
reunite
agree.
them.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. The way the doctor say is so obvious, but you get a sense of yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. You
Say
feel
that
good.
to
Like
Yeah.
that's
Say that to her face so that
yeah,
she knows. Yep.
yeah.
Uh,
Anne's the main character. You're rooting for her. So even if the doctor's praise of her is completely transparent, it still feels
yeah.
nice.
Oh my god. Like even though that we know how this gonna play out, I just feel that the direction of it is very 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 solid, to the point that like every moment. So uh when Dinah come to ask Anne for help, and then they have to go through the other way because I think the bridge was frozen or something.
Yeah,
Like
yep. The
you
snow's too
feel,
deep in a particular area.
yeah, you feel the sense of urgency as well, and the way that they walk to the house and they consistently just fall over
Yep.
was captured as well. I just feel that like every bit of the way the show did, what the show did was just top notch.
Yeah, it was very good. When Anne would get close to Minnie May in order to spoon the ipecac into her mouth,
Yep, yep,
then
yep,
she
yep,
would she would back up a little bit, and then that space next to Minnie May would immediately be filled. Like Diana would shift to the left,
yep,
or I can't remember the name of their babysitter.
yep. something they
But
they talk. Yeah,
she would as a presence in the room, she was taller, so you might get a shot with Minnie May in the foreground, Diana
yeah,
hovering above her, and then the babysitter even above her, kind of all
yeah,
lined up, which makes the structure of the shot taller and kind of
yeah,
makes everybody who's worried or who's ill, like they take up more space in the frame, you know.
yeah,
So definitely the tension was effectively maintained, I would say.
yeah. And my favorite moment, however, is on episode 19, where 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 we encounter the Diana ant, who feel very stoic at first, but when she get into the conversation with Anne, she immediately get take a liking to Anne and
Yeah.
be a good aunt.
Yeah, I think the narrator mentions the phrase kindred spirit.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah,
the aunt, she does seem to be very stern and very harsh, almost a Marilla type figure. But that's she's kind of viewed as an eccentric, I think, by a lot of other people. That would be my guess. In the
yeah,
same way that Anne probably is, since she's so imaginative and uses
yeah,
such verbose language and everything. So the
yeah,
aunt probably, in hearing Anne speak to her in a very adult tone, she's probably taken with her. She is
yeah,
interested in this little girl, and I'm
yeah.
sure that the she will be relevant in the future. Of course, the way she's
I
introduced in this episode and the promise that
yeah,
she makes Anne give to her. If you're ever in the
yeah,
city, come see me.
yeah,
That's we'll certainly get like a mini arc maybe where where Anne goes to the big city and stays with
yeah.
Aunt Josephine. So
I
I'm looking forward to that.
I definitely hope so as well because I like more screen time of Aunt Josephine anytime. She look like a kind of characters who fun to be with.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I would say it's maybe a little unfortunate that that's revealed to us so quickly.
Yeah, yeah,
It might have been interesting if it had taken an additional episode for
yeah.
that part of Aunt Josephine's personality to be revealed.
Agree. Yeah, yeah,
But that's the show. They have 50 episodes to work with. They're on a schedule. So
yeah.
sometimes you need the narrator to come in and say, and then this happened for a month.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
Because
and
I
then
mean, Anne of Green Gables is there. It's going to cover different points in Anne's life. I don't think she's going to stay 12 or 13 or however old she is for the whole
oh
show.
wow, all right. Yeah,
And not the same as Heidi.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, you see the passage of time because a bit quicker in the show. So yeah, looking forward to that. And there is an unfinished business between Ants and Gilbert as well, which I think uh, will get resolved somehow later on, and we will see about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are multiple points where she thinks of him. Oh, for example, I think it was episode 14, maybe,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
at Green Gables they have a couple of guests over, the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Rosses, including Mrs. Chester Ross, who is such a perfect housekeeper, in Anne's words. That's the one where Anne, while thinking of Gilbert and being distracted by him, fails to
yeah,
cover up the sauce,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then has to lie and say that a mouse got into it
yeah,
in order to prevent it from being served to these very important guests. So that's one instance in which she's thinking about Gilbert, and it causes her to be distracted or to be angered. Then another is in episode 19 at the aforementioned concert where he puts on a performance of his own,
yeah.
and the narrator says to us, and that was the only performance that she didn't
Numbers.
like. She loved everything else but hated when Gilbert was on stage. Even though Diana points out to her, I think he was looking at you.
Yeah.
So
Even you are my best friend. I wouldn't I would like to mention him in our conversation or something along that line. That was
yeah,
said
yeah,
to
Diana, I would
Anna.
do anything for you. I would
Yeah,
even
yeah, yeah, yeah.
allow myself to be torn limb from limb if it would improve your life. But you can never mention him to me. That's the one thing I will never tolerate.
Oh, Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's pretty clear that what we're getting here is like a tease of a romance between the two.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm hopeful that the show will handle that gracefully,
All right.
because I don't, he's obviously a jerk, and I don't want her to just be into him because he's a jerk. I would
Nah.
like some more meaningful connection to be forged between the
Yeah.
two before they go on any sort of date or whatever.
All right. There's one more point that I want to mention. Is that Marilas decided to change her mind of and attending Dinah's concerts. Uh, Dinah's birthday that going to the concert later on just because uh,
Matthew.
Matthew is very persistent. It's I think it's like the first time that he been so persistent about something. So that like for the third time that he said she decided to just give
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, and I mean, I think she was within her right to tell him, like,
Yeah.
who's raising this child?
She,
It's
she, she
me.
did say that, yes, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to be the one making the decisions. But he, continues to advocate for Anne. I think he's always in her corner because
Yeah.
he's completely taken with her, and was even as early as episode one when he finds
Yeah.
himself enjoying their conversation in the carriage on the way back to Green Gables when he discovers, oh, we got a girl instead of a boy. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
he is just head over heels for her basically, and so this time he kind of puts his foot down. I mean, he's not a very forceful character. He's very quiet, but
Yeah.
he just repeats, I think Anne should go. I think she ought to be able to go. So
Yeah.
I'm torn as to whether or not I would describe that as a nice moment.
All
I don't
right.
know if it's really because Marilla is correct that he is not
Yeah.
raising her, not contributing to her, education or development in the same way that his sister is.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's right that he would be able to overrule her. But
Well, it's a suggestion for one thing. It's not something to something as an order to overrule her. So it's still her decision to make. But the other thing that that kind of spring off from that is that I don't want Anne to and suggestion and asking to be accepted 100% of the time. That she would become spoiled because of that. So I think there's a merit of when she decided Marilla decided not to accept um, um, her wish
yeah,
based on the good reason.
yeah. Well, good reason. I wonder about whether it's a good reason. I think the reason that Marilla doesn't want her to go is because she kind of views those sorts of social gatherings as frivolous.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
specifically, I think there is an undertone of like, when Anne says, "Oh, and the pastor is even going to give a sermon, so it'll be like church." It seems to me that Marilla and Matthew are both pretty conservative and religious,
Mhm.
even though that's not always in the forefront,
Yeah,
of the scripts or anything. I think that is present. There's a conversation about politics
yeah,
in somewhere in these episodes where
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Anne is just talking her head off to Matthew and says, Ruby, Ruby at school says that whenever a man is courting a woman, he must always agree with her mother in terms of religion and always with her father in terms of politics,
yeah,
which I thought was pretty funny. And
yeah,
maybe there's even an element of truth to that. If your number one goal is to make a good impression on the parents so you can get this girl to marry you, you may you may
yeah,
want to employ that strategy. I don't know. But yeah, I think the idea there is that Marilla, in denying her the opportunity to go to that concert, is kind of saying, well, there's no like spiritual worth to that sort of gathering. It's it's kind of hollow and
yeah,
secular.
yeah,
And I can't say I really love that idea,
yeah,
but I mean, Marilla is she's taken on this responsibility, and she ought to have a
yeah.
say.
And I think later on to that conversation as well, the conversation that Anne had with Matthew, um, Anne did ask Matthew like what party or he's on, and he said he's on conservative.
Right. And then she
Yeah,
says, and this was interesting to me. I didn't look it up on Google or anything, but she says that some of
I
the
will join well.
boys, like Philip
Ah,
Sensei, is I think a grit,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, 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 yeah,
and that some of the other boys at school are probably grits as well. And my
yeah,
guess is that I don't know. Like I'm just pure. This is pure speculation on my part, but I'm guessing that what the grits represent in terms of like political ideology is that they are for the working class man.
right.
So they wouldn't necessarily be liberal or left leaning in the sense that we think about those terms today, but they would
Yeah,
just be like they would advocate for workers in like on farms or
yeah.
in factories or I actually are we pre-industrial revolution? No. So there would be factories probably. But that's just my idea of what grits might be. What a grit
Yeah,
is somebody who has like working class politics and
yeah.
you know
Huh. All right.
wants taxes to be low for people with low incomes and
All right.
that sort of thing.
W- Yeah. One quick search in the Wikipedia. Grit is the Liberal Party of Canada.
Okay. Even
Mm.
today, is that right or no?
Yeah. Even today.
Okay. So they're thought of today as the Liberal Party. Okay.
Huh.
I mean, this show is set in
Interesting.
the late 1800s,
Yeah.
so they wouldn't be like today's liberals. It
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah. Yeah.
be
Yeah.
like the social issues would not be remotely the same.
Yeah.
But perhaps financially, the politics would be somewhat similar.
All right. Yeah. Out of notes of talking about Anne. So you have any notes you can just shoot about.
I have tons, to be honest, but I mean, we don't have to get into all that. Mostly, though, what I want to say is that episode 17, I thought was just like a wonderful work of art. The
Right.
final few minutes with the note passing, the poem written for her by Julia
Yeah.
Bell, one of the girls at at the
Yeah. Yeah.
schoolhouse. When twilight drops its curtain down and pins it with a star, remember that you have a friend, though she may wander far. That's just so. That's amazing. Like to have a friend at school that would write a poem for you like that, which is clearly, the contents of the poem, a friend that you have, though she may wander far.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's Diana, you know,
Yeah.
because even though she and Anne are separated, even though they've wandered far from each other, they still have that friendship. So, hats off to Julia Bell, whoever that is, for writing that poem because that's so amazing. And then when it's repeated later in the episode,
Yeah.
underneath the starry sky, and there's a particular shot of like the two of their houses, a really really wide landscape shot with the two of their houses, Green Gables and then Diana's house, and there's like a tree that perfectly bisects the frame
Yeah.
to kind of to separate them visually, and then you have the like that little string of stars in the sky to match the poem. That's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
I just really loved all these episodes and loving the show as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. Oof. It just six episode, but it's gone by so fast. And not because of they rushing the episode. They really take the time to just go to Anne's everyday life and her troubles.
Yeah. Yeah, 19 episodes down, 31 to go.
All right. All right. Looking
So
forward to that.
it'll probably be a while before we upload another Annecast, but
Yeah.
rest assured we will finish it, barring,
Yeah.
my untimely death from bronchitis or a freak tennis accident. in Australia.
Mhm. Yep,
We
that's
will
not
make it
gonna
to the
happen.
end.
Cool. Alrighty. All right. Looking forward to have another episodes about Anne and Cass in coming months.
Yeah,
But yep. Until then, guys.
we'll see you later.
Bye.